Good evening and welcome to another episode of Attack Wrap. Co-host Zach Scribner and Adrien Mouseeau joined alongside the general manager of the Owen Sound Attack. He's a little less busy now than a few weeks ago, Dale DeGray. Dale, how are you?
I'm awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's a busy episode. We have a lot to go over with news around the Ontario Hockey League. Let's start out with the OHL Player of the Week. James Hardy of the Mississauga Steelheads is a Coachco OHL Player of the Week. He recorded 2 goals, 8 assists, and 10 points in 4 games along a plus-minus rating of +4. Hardy scored the Steelheads' lone goal last Monday versus Erie. He had 4 assists Thursday versus Niagara and Friday against North Bay. Hardy finished the week with a goal against Niagara Sunday afternoon. Mason Vicari of the Kingston Frontenacs is the OHL Goaltender of the Week, going 2-0 with a 164 goals against average and a .951 save percentage. Vicari backstopped the Frontenacs to back-to-back road wins, starting with a 45 save effort Monday, and Peterborough turned third-star recognition as Kingston defeated the Peterborough Petes 2-1. The rookie netminder was excellent again on Saturday, making 25 saves in a 6-2 win over Niagara. This week's Attack Player of the Week is newcomer Landon Hookey. Hookey scored his first goal with the Attack Friday in London. Saturday, the 6'4" winger scored a goal and added an assist. Sunday, he picked up an assist on the opening goal for Owen Sound Sunday versus the Ottawa 67s. Let's now take a look at the Western Conference standings. The Windsor Spitfires are 8-2 in their last 10. They lead the West with 60 points, 3 ahead of the London Knights. Big weekend for Owen Sound this past weekend. They're now third with 51 points. The difference between 4th and 8th is 10 points. Saginaw is 3-7 in their last 10, but remain in 4th with 50 points. Sarnia are 5th with 48 points, 3 ahead of Flint. Guelph sits 7th with 43 points, 3 ahead of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Kitchener sits 9th, and Erie are 10th. To the Eastern Conference, Ottawa remains first in the conference, but North Bay are catching up. They're just now 2 points behind the 67s. Barrie are 7-3 in their last 10. They sit third, 3 points ahead of Peterborough. Mississauga went the rebuilding route at the deadline, but they're now 6-3-1 in their last 10. Good for 5th, 2 points ahead of Kingston. The defending OHL champs, Hamilton Bulldogs, are 7th, 3 points ahead of Sudbury. The Wolves make their lone trip to the Bayshore this Saturday. We'll be giving away a pair of tickets later on in the show. The Oshawa Generals are 9th with 36 points, while Niagara remains last in the conference. To the OHL top 10 in scoring, Ty Voigt continues to lead the way, although the lead is diminishing. Voigt leads the way with 64 points. He had a goal and an assist this past weekend for Sarnia. Matthew Maggio, Matvey Petrov, and Logan Morrison are tied for second with 61 points. Owen Sound Attack captain Colby Barlow, he's only 4 points back of Voigt with 60 on the season. Kyle Jackson is 6th in league scoring, 1 point ahead of David Goyette. James Hardy and Pavel Minchkov are tied for 8th, while Tucker Robertson rounds out the top 10 with 55 points. Finally, let's take a look at the top 10 in scoring for the Owen Sound Attack. As we mentioned, Colby Barlow leads the way with 60. Cedric Gaindel sits second with 52 points. He's only 7 points away from matching his rookie points total. Denny Gore scored his 20th of the year for the Attack this past weekend. He's third in team scoring with 47 points. Ethan Burrows is 4th with 39 points, 1 ahead of Serbak Petrovsky. Sam Sedley had 4 assists Saturday versus Peterborough. He's 6th with 34 points. Caleb Lawrence scored goals in back-to-back games this weekend. He's 7th with 27. OA Matthew Pappas is 8th in team scoring with 25 points, 2 ahead of Gavin Bryant, who's just 1 point shy of a point-per-game pace for Owen Sound this season. Landon Hookey and Nolan Seed are tied for 10th with 20 points.
And now we'll get to the start of the show, Dale DeGray. Dale, we're just going to go in a variety of different ways today, but we're going to start off with the weekend that was. Hockey Day in Canada, here in Owen Sound. What were your thoughts of the whole weekend as a whole?
Well, right from last Tuesday, doing a sort of a one-on-one talk with Ron. I mean, it was outstanding. Like the support that our fan base, that the community, that the whole area showed. Whether it was our games, whether it was the women's professional game, the high school hockey game, I was there. I really didn't want to stay because of the screeching sounds. It was amazing. When I pulled in and saw the amount of buses that were there, I was blown away. You know what? Kudos to the community and the whole area. What a great showing. It was so well done. I mean, speaking with everybody from the event itself that was putting it on. They were just blown away by the support, and and how lively the town was.
I just want to go back to that hot stove. What was the best question someone asked you with that event?
You know what? Well, for me, it wasn't even the question. It was just the Ron McLean's ability just to, off the cuff, tie one thing. You know, he goes around and he talks to everybody, you know, at Boston Pizza. And then all of a sudden, when he sits down, he brings people's names up like he's known them for weeks or months or years. And then he ties their stories into topics that we were talking about. I told him afterwards, I said, I don't know how you do that, right? And nothing scripted, anything. It's just between his ears. And so off the cuff, it was amazing. It really was.
Ron was pretty incredible the couple of times that I got to speak with him as well. But you were able to touch base with a former teammate, I believe, in Lanny McDonald, right?
Yeah, you know what? I was, when I saw that it was put down that, I don't know if anybody knew that at all, quite honestly, but actually my wife and I, we were having a coffee at the Best Western, and Lanny come walking in, and it's one thing for me to recognize Lanny, or anybody recognizes Lanny. It's another thing for Lanny to recognize who the heck I am, quite honestly. I mean, you know, I'm sure he knew at some point our paths would cross, but not knowing where, and he come walking in, and I walked up to him, and I said, Lanny, he goes, Digger. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go with that. But it really was nice getting caught up, because really I haven't seen him and talked to him since like 88, 89 in that time frame. I may have played against him and talked to him at that point, but other than that, it really was. That's the hockey world. You know, the longer you're involved, the smaller the world becomes, and you're one person you know here knows this person that you know who knows that person, and you sort of have an idea of what you're doing just through other people. It really was amazing. And
you played without social media as well, so even to have that connection still going to this day, that's really impressive, especially for Lanny McDonald, who was on his last leg at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he brought up the topic of, at one point, where when I was with Calgary at that point, that was the year they lost to the Montreal Canadiens, and I was coming in as really a snot-nosed rookie, and I was a black ace. You know, I'd be skating at the end of every practice, every game day that I wasn't playing, and then 2 years later, when they won the Stanley Cup against the Montreal Canadiens, as he was saying to me, and I would never say this until he said this, but he was the black ace. He was the odd man out, wearing the black jersey and skating every game that he wasn't playing. So as much as he knew about me coming into the league, he reflected on how he was leaving the league and wearing the same jersey I was.
This guy's a Habs fan, Dale. Take it easy.
And we'll go back and forth on 86 and 89 for sure. Yeah. But what would be one of the things you're most proud of the weekend from the attack organization standpoint of this whole day?
Yeah, I think really just how they pulled it off. And I mean, you know, you think of the teams, you know, from Tuesday right through to Sunday, the teams that we played. So really two things: how the organization pulled it off, and how everything really went seamlessly without a hiccup, which seemed that way anyways. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? We had great weather. We had winter weather, but not severe winter weather like we all know we could have here. And really, you know, going into the weekend for me on the hockey front I was probably hoping that we would have come out with 4 points. We came out with 5 against 4 really tough opponents. And I think everybody in our locker room, you know, can sit there and say, you know, a job well done. I mean, when you think about not just the teams that we were playing, but what was asked of everybody in the dressing room and the coaches to be here, whether it's a school visit or a function here and a banquet or whatever. And we all want to be a part of it, but you don't realize how much it takes away from their focus for the games until you're in it and you're going, holy smokes, what a difference the day makes when you've got to be here and there, and then all of a sudden you've got to get ready for a game. So kudos to the kids to really be focused. Obviously, we weren't very focused in London, but we'll put that one behind. As I said to the coach, just, you know what, throw the game tape out. I mean, it is what it is. And we refocused. We got ready for the next couple of games and did very well, I thought.
Yeah, I think I said it multiple times on different broadcasts that your bodies were in London, but your heads were in Owen Sound, and it's a game that just put it to the wayside, and they very much did that, as we saw on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. You mentioned a lot of events. What was the favorite one that you took in?
You brought up with Lanny. It was really nice getting caught up. We were outside talking with Ron, but even it's not even so much the 2 or 3 minutes you're on camera with somebody. It's the 5 or 10 minutes prior to and the 5 or 10 minutes afterwards. And Wendell was there. I played with Wendell. Now I see Wendell more often than Lanny, but it was really nice getting caught up with Lanny and just kibitzing about hockey stuff. He was curious about how he didn't realize that I was here 16 years, and he goes, "Holy smokes!" He said, "It's a long time to be anywhere." Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was just nice getting caught up and just rehashing some old stuff.
So some of your favorite players, colleagues back in Owen Sound: Joey Hishin, Daniel Zweep, Andrew Shaw, Scott Stager. What were some of the favorite memories just when you were interacting with any of them that were brought up?
Well, really. Our championship season, obviously, some of those guys, being just really being a part of it. Like the one thing that I am here, I might oversee a lot of it, but for me, it's all about them and their successes and what they do and carry on and go on to different things. And the one thing, like Andrew Shaw's not too far away from me, quite honestly. So to get back and involved with him. He's sort of removed himself from hockey. Hish has been here just recently. With Zweeper, one of the big things, I think any fan that was a part of that would remember with the whole crowd yelling "Zweep." That was it's. Those are the things that sort of make the game fun, and those are the we all have memories, right? And we'll have them forever. And those are just some of the things, watching Scotty Stager play defense, understanding why he was playing defense and not goal. I mean, certainly understand that. But it really is, it's just nice to see the kids get back together and see the camaraderie they have amongst themselves. To me, that's a big deal.
We all good for Scotiabank Hockey Day in Canada? You got anything else?
No, I was just gonna echo that. I was in the dressing room. It was me, Mark McKelvey, Andrew Shaw, Dan Zweep, and Joey Hishin, and it was just Mark and I were just standing there, and the three of them were going through each stall. Remember that? Remember that?
In our dressing room.
In the dressing room.
Where they sat and stuff.
Where they sat, and little inside jokes here, inside jokes there. It was really cool to be a fly on the wall while those three were just hot stoving it up in there.
And that's the hockey world. Do you know what I mean? When guys get back together, and I still do with some of my buddies that I played, in 81, 82, and you get together, and it's almost like you're a brotherhood, and all of a sudden you're connected, and then you're connected by so many other things, and you start telling stories. Now some of them may have been twisted between his thoughts and my thoughts, but that's sort of the fun part too, right? Maybe you call somebody out on it. It didn't work that way. It didn't happen that way. And who are you kidding? But it's a lot of fun when you get guys together.
Okay, let's talk some OHL trade deadline. I just want to get your thoughts. When you see, what's your initial reaction?
First off, I heard that I was asleep. I didn't even know there was.
We're going to touch on that later.
I didn't even know there was a trade deadline. I found that out today.
Yep. What's your initial reaction when you see 6 to 9 draft picks moved in a trade?
Well, I mean, I was a part of one that happened that way with Victor Mete.
Yeah.
Okay? Probably the only one. And
that's coming back to you, though. You're not giving up those.
No. But just being involved in one, that's sort of a circumstantial sort of a deal. I don't know if it's great for the league that's taking place. But if you're a team in the situation and you've got, 20 extra picks, like there's some teams that had just a ridiculous amount of picks. You can't even go into the draft with that many picks because you can't. If you take 5 kids in the first 3 rounds, you can't bring them all in next year. And there's going to be, 2 of those kids are probably going to be ticked off that they were drafted and unsigned because they're not going to play. And probably the following summer, I'm going to get a phone call. Can you get my kid out of such and such a place? Benefits me, but it's just not a good formula to sort of go by, right? But no. I knew early on when they started throwing out the 4, 5, 6 picks for what was, good players. Don't get me wrong, good players, but more along the lines of average players. And then because you knew the pot of gold still wasn't even in the league yet, and I just knew. I quite honestly, I couldn't sit at that poker table. I just didn't have the funds to do it.
We're going to have to play poker with Dale one day.
Now, this isn't a question on our sheet here, but when you see the WHL giving away first-round picks for future years, is that something that you like that's not a part of it in the OHL, or do you think that would be something beneficial that would getting rid of so many picks, future picks?
Well, having been part of this for so long, I would be okay if you could trade your first round pick to somebody else for their first round pick. I don't think I would want to see a team in our league not have a first round pick. Okay, but if you wanted to trade, if you know that you're going to be one of the top teams, and somebody wanted your pick because maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason they would even want it, but if they weren't going to be able to get a top player, maybe they get your pick and they get a couple of other picks, or they get a player, then that's fine. As long as you, because I think the rule is there so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, quite honestly.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of balance.
Yeah, and I think that there's some safety in that, which I think is fine. But I would be okay if I wanted to trade, if I was picking 14 and somebody that was picking 19 wanted my pick, and I picked 19 and they gave me a player to go with it, I wouldn't be offended or wouldn't be opposed to that.
Now, you said you were asleep or people said that you were asleep.
Yeah.
But you've made multiple.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you've made multiple trades throughout the year, starting with you acquired Matthew Pappas as your third OA. Was that the main thing about Matthew, was just to get an OA forward? You had an OA goalie, OA D, and get an OA forward?
Well, regarding him, it was one of those things. We played them, I think, 12 times last year.
And he killed you guys.
And he was awesome. So for me, to give up, I think I gave up a fifth round pick.
And they had given up 2 higher picks.
I'm not going to go down that road, but for me to acquire him for that, I thought that was a heck of a deal. Like, none of that happened at the deadline, right? None of that happened at the deadline. He's been a real good player for us, really accountable. I would try to do that every single year if I could find a dance partner to do that with.
I think he can play in all 12 offensive positions as well.
No, he's
so versatile.
Yeah, and you know what? He's tons of skill. He's a great skater. He's hard on the stick with the puck. He's got a great shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would do that again next year if I get the opportunity.
One player I want to bring up, you made the move before Matthew Pappas, was Cedric Sanoki Tundu. You shipped him to Guelph. I now know he's in Hamilton. Was there any hesitation making that move within a Midwest Division team, or just an opportunity for Okie to play?
It was kind of both. I mean, I had to pare down I think we had 9D, right? So I had to pare that down, and it's I've always tried to give our kids an opportunity. I'm not going to lose any sleep over if it's in our
division.
I traded Sean Dursey and Nick Suzuki to the Guelph Storm.
Yeah, good point.
So you know what? It's a lot of times it's, as long as we can move forward with what I think is going to be a better group, do you know what I mean, or a tighter group, and that's nothing against Okie, but it's just going to give him an opportunity to play more. That's all it was.
Following the Okie trade, you made a trade with the Ottawa 67s for a guy at the time, I think all of us didn't know who he was. Teddy Sawyer. We didn't see the East at all last year, and then he's an American kid to boot, so there wasn't really much for us to go off of. And then all I see is a premier shutdown defenseman now. You did your job beforehand, I would assume, and that's what you saw as well?
Yeah. That's just the way that it goes, right? I mean, we have the ability to watch video. You ask people about players, and for me, I talk to GMs about different kids on the East, right? And he was one of those guys that we had interest in, and you ask questions about him, and he was just one of those really reliable guys. Talked to the GM. I knew they were going to have too many defensemen, and I thought, you know what, let's try to get in early as opposed to have to try to pull somebody out of there at the trade deadline. I probably would have had to double up everything, you know what I mean?
Especially as a top team.
Yeah, to get him out of there. So we did it when we thought that we needed it, and he's been exactly everything that we needed him to be. But beyond that, I was told that he was a real good kid. and teammate. And I'll be honest with you, I met him on the 401 at a Tim Hortons on his way through. And as soon as I met him, you could just tell all smiles, handshake, firm handshake, look you right in the eye, how excited he was to be on his way to Owen Sound, and it hasn't changed. Teammates just absolutely love him.
I haven't seen someone laugh on an episode of Attack Rap as much as him.
Yeah, he loves it.
No, he does.
What would be one thing you would want him to improve upon this year to finish the year? I know he's added a little bit of offense. He was hurt a little bit too, so what would be one thing?
But he's not. But that's no. He's not a guy that I expect off. We didn't trade for him to expect offense. Yeah. So if you tell me that he ends up at the end of the year with 11 points or 9 points, awesome. If you tell me that he's a plus player and he shuts down other teams' best players, that's why he's here. Yeah. He makes us better. Simple.
Next defenseman you brought in, James Petrovsky from the Flint Firebirds. I know you and I did an interview earlier on in the season about him, but at that point he wasn't ranked on NHL Central Scouting. He's now put himself on the map. I think it's evident he's more comfortable here in Owen Sound as he's been here for a little while. What do you hope to see from James in the second half of the season leading into the playoffs?
You know what? A lot of the same, quite honestly. I see a 6'3" lanky kid that can really skate. And you know what? I've talked to NHL scouts about him, and I said one of the things that he has the ability, he can actually take pucks end to end, and it's remarkable for his size. It's not remarkable with his skating ability, but for his size, and he's only 17. Another player that I probably would have had to double up my cost to get him at the deadline. So for me, that's call it bargain shopping, whatever you want to call it.
You do your homework early.
But there's a ton of upside. I mean, he was really good against us last year in the playoffs. And I can tell you, we talked about him after games, and we were wondering like who the heck is this kid? He's just a kid, but he was really good. And I don't know, maybe he didn't start so well in Flint, and maybe that gave us the opportunity to try to get him out of there. But he's been really good for us, and I think everybody will see him over the next few years, just incrementally, just get a little bit better every year. That's my hope for all the players, right? But I think he can take those strides, and like you're saying, he's on Central's radar now. And maybe that'll bode well for him moving forward.
Now, one of the things of his game that people in Owen Sound are like wondering if it's going to develop is his physicality. Seeing that 6'3" frame that can skate like that, he could be very powerful in the corners. But is he just not a physical kid, or does that come with time as a defenseman?
Well, I think it certainly comes with time, and I think. We've seen, it is definitely something that we're trying to work on with him, but it's something that I've seen a little bit more of recently. I think the NHL teams would like to see a little bit more of that to help. If you look at, I may have said this before, is that if you take a player and you think he's like an onion and you peel back layers, you want to see more, okay, he's a big kid, he's a good skater. Is he physical? Can he play the power play? If you start peeling all back these layers of the onion, and you see more and more and more and more, then all of a sudden you got yourself a heck of a player. And that's all we try to do with our players, is to try to get them to be more than what they came here or really started out to be. And if they are, by the end of it, maybe they are a draft pick, maybe they are a pro player.
Now let's talk about some moves made around the trade deadline. Your first deal, Julian Fantino to the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds for Landon Hockey. And we'll talk about this in the second half of the question, that 15 round pick swap for swap. First off, he scores in back-to-back games Friday, Saturday, Landon Hockey. What have you seen from him since that trade was complete?
I will tell you, I acquired about him 3 or 4 weeks before the deadline, and I watched some video up to that point. When I was told no, I watched some more. Should I press it? At the deadline, and I think he's really good from the top of the circles down. Although I think he's good defensively, I think he's a smart player with the puck. I think he's really fitting in very well. I think he's excited to be here. I know his parents are happy that he's only, 2.5 hours from home now, which I think adds to it, quite honestly. because I think he'll be happier in that environment or this environment. But he's really becoming maybe even more than what I thought in this short window of exposure, quite honestly.
So we can do this. If a player comes to mind now or afterwards, can ask the same for Jackson Stewart later on. Player comparison, I know Hookie's been here a little while. Someone from the past that you would compare him to?
I hate doing that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like doing that, but he's, you know what, he's a big, strong guy. You know, is he a little bit like Caleb Lawrence even? Do you know what I mean? And they're both on the same line, and they play with Matt, which I think is a fantastic line. But you know, the one thing is that, you know, we want his feet to improve, and I think the more that he plays, if he's going to play at pace, I think his feet will improve. But he's big, he's strong, he's physical, he's not afraid of anybody. He's got soft hands. Yeah, I'm looking forward to him improving, you know, kind of week in, week out.
You pencil that into your third line. I know you're not the coach. You always say that when you're on here, but that's a dynamic third line.
I mean, there's going to be nights where they're first out of the gate, quite honestly, because they can be.
So for those that don't know, what's the story behind it? 15 for 15, same year. Was it your idea or Kyle Raftis?
No, I'll be honest with you. Kyle Raftis brought it up and said, "Hey, we can't just trade player for player. Nobody's doing that anymore." I said, "Well, then we'll just throw in some picks." He says, "Well, then let's just exchange 15th round picks." I said, "Well, let's go 15th round picks in 26." Done. and it was
that kid becomes a player for you guys. What a deal!
That's what I was thinking. Or on the other side, I hope he doesn't kill Owen Sound.
We'll have to see who those picks are, and in 4 years from now, we'll see who those.
You realize you traded midget or Bantam minor players.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the way. But you know, we did it kind of for a bit of a lark. But we did have some people online say, "Hey, love the 15th round transactions, LOL," and I was like, okay, some people got it.
That's good enough. We do have to go to a quick timeout, but first let's throw out the trivia question. You can win a pair of tickets to this Saturday's home game versus the Sudbury Wolves. Colby Barlow will be at the Top Prospects game, will be a captain for his team tomorrow evening. Who is the last attack player to represent Owen Sound at the Top Prospects game? Call in to Mark Perry. You can win yourself a pair of tickets against the Sudbury Wolves. The Wolves making their lone trip to the Bayshore this Saturday. On the other side of the break, we still have to discuss the Cal Ewens trade with Dale DeGray, a special interview Adrien and I did with Andy Brown, highlights from this past week, and plenty more. You're watching Attack Wrap on Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
The One TV free preview is back, and viewers are loving it. Start strong with workouts designed to motivate you. Then reward yourself with our lineup of great entertainment. January is a one-for-all, free-for-all month. One TV, free preview on now.
Hey, Grey County. Think it's too late to become more fit? Think again. I'm personal trainer Karen Ross, specializing in 55 plus fitness. My mission is to help you find your way back to health and wellness. I'll give you the knowledge and the power to take control of your own fitness path. Everyone deserves quality life for their entire life. Tune in to A Little Bit Fit with me, Karen Ross, right here on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm David Shearman, host of Politically Speaking on Rogers TV. Join me for my next show where my guests will be from the Owen Sound Police Service. Politically Speaking on Rogers TV.
Zach Scribner, Adrien Mouseeau joined alongside General Manager Dale DeGray of the Owen Sound Attack. We talked about the Landon Hookie trade. Let's get into the one with the Kingston Frontenacs. You bring in Jackson Stewart, Isaiah Ludington, and a third-round pick for Cal Ewens, and a 10th-round pick in 2026. First, how tough was it for you dealing Cal Ewens to Kingston, seeing as at the time of the draft, you guys felt lucky that he was still there in the third round?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that plays out, and I think it's always tough to move kids. We all love Cal, and I just think for us moving forward, I think one of the things I've done a decent job with in the time I've been doing this is looking to fill holes. What do we need? And trying to go out and find what we need and try to make it happen. And I thought we needed some grit, we needed some aggression, and I think getting Stewie and Landon Hookie, it's brought us in some size and some grit and some. And not just for that, but I think it elevates everybody on the bench, quite honestly. And I think our record indicates that it's probably the right thing. I think our kids really feel good about themselves, and whether they play an inch or two taller because of that, that's part of it. Well, but Stewie's come in. He's there's some parts of his game that he needs to work on, but I can tell you right now, as a teammate goes, as a guy that the guys want to have success on the ice, it's been fantastic.
So what does bringing in Jackson Stewart, you mentioned it, players want to be more physical. I noticed Ben Cormier throwing a lot more hits, those two playing on the same line. So you don't bring in the Shane Wright, the Brendan Hoffman, those type of players, guys that will fill roles. What does Jackson Stewart do for this hockey club come playoff time? Well, it's going to be the same thing. It's tough. The playoffs are tough. They're hard. They're grinded out, and he is that type of a player. Will he be asked to score 9 goals in a series? No. But will he be asked to go out and lay the body on guys and be hard to play against and earn his own area of the ice? Absolutely. Quite honestly, when he's on the ice, I'll guarantee you everybody knows when he steps on the ice, and that is a bonus.
I saw that on
fantastic haircut.
Yeah,
everybody loves his hair. I know.
I saw that on Saturday night when he took a run at Brendan Hoffman. He also doesn't care who's on the other side of the ice as well.
No, he does not, and quite honestly, that's what I love about him.
So Isaiah Ludington, let's bring it up real quick. You look at his elite prospects. 25 points in 30 games before being moved to the London Nationals. Is this a player that can make a jump to your team as early as next season?
Listen, he's a guy that I was told about by Sean LaFortune on our staff. He played in the Junior B prospects game, and I had 2 NHL teams call me about him and another player. So I thought to myself, we did a little bit of research and found out that he had a little bit of a falling out with Kingston. So I thought, since we're doing a deal with Kingston, why not just, I'll throw a 10th round pick in, try to get his rights, and nothing ventured, nothing gained, quite honestly. I went and watched him play in London like a few nights later. 6'3", he's got to get a little bit stronger. He's still pretty slight, but the way that he skates, the way that he carries the puck up, it's going to be interesting to see. I'd like to bring him up for some practices to see how he fits in with our group, and really kind of go from there.
I believe that wraps up all the trades that you made. Now, what we noticed, and what was probably your idea behind the whole thing, was nothing was for this year. Nothing was going to hurt you this year or for the future. It was all gaining for you. Got all 04s or 05 players except for the Pappas deal. That was the plan. Is you saw everybody in the East and in the West going all in this year, and you're sitting pretty this year. You're in third in the conference right now, and then you're gonna be sitting pretty next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I wasn't going to make a deal unless it benefited us now and moving forward. Quite honestly, the Pappas deal was a deal that I had a vacancy, right? I think all good teams in our league have 3 good overage players, and I believe in that, and I wanted to make sure that we were able to have that. I think he filled that hole. Everybody else will all be back next year. They'll be here in September, and there's probably be a lot of smiles on everybody's faces.
So you also have the vacancy with an import slot.
Yeah.
Is that something you're looking to fill in the draft this season, or potentially a trade as early in the summertime, if not next year?
Well, listen, I would have filled it at the deadline if I could have done that. I tried to set myself up so that we could, if something became available that wasn't going to break the bank, maybe do that. Do I have the ability, the option to possibly make a trade over the summer before the European draft? Absolutely. And yeah, on my whiteboard, do I have a couple of names already? Yeah, absolutely I do. And we'll see how that plays out.
Interesting. I'm not going to ask
you. Won't
who.
see my whiteboard, so
yeah, exactly. I would love to see it, but why don't we get into highlights from Saturday's game against the Ottawa 67s? It was Peterborough Pete's, thank you. It was Hockey Day in Canada. It was a long weekend, Zach. Forgive me. A big game after a 9-1 defeat at the hands of the London Knights. The Owen Sound Attack took on the Peterborough Pete's at a rare start time of 6:45. Check the highlights now.
Here's Jordan up the middle to Ethan Burrows. Burrows with the shot. He scored! No, it hit the post. Play carries on. The attack led up, and now the Petes have a breakaway. In all alone comes Hayes. Hayes to the backhand. He scores! Talk about a turn of events. Opportunity for Bryant to go up ahead to Sedley. Sedley throwing it to the net. Backhand shot. Barlow scores! When you need a goal, who do you call? Captain Colby ties the game. Get it in. 30 seconds left in the two-man advantage. Open in front is Gaindon. Barlow the shot. He scores! Back to back, just like that. Colby Barlow. Bryant did a good job to cover for Seed at the point. Now here's Brennan Othman. Drop pass for Stillman. Back across. Othman scores! Oh, it doesn't get much better than that. What a setup, and Brennan Othman ties the game. Shot around the boards, and this one carries all the way down to Matthew Pappas. Pappas cuts to the net. Poke check, it goes into the crease. They jam away. Shushka's down, they score! He's going to be able to hold the puck in. Gets it into the corner for Hookie. Out in front, comes out to Sedley. In front, they score! Hookie! He steers it to the net, and it gets through, and Owen Sound leads 4-2. For Nolan Seed, stepping into the zone. Sedley takes the shot. Sedley passes it to Bryant. Bryant in front for Gore. Between the legs, he scores! Put that on the highlight reel. Denny Gore makes it 5-2. Let's take another look at this highlight reel goal from Denny Gore as he goes between his legs and roofs it. They don't get much finer than that, and that is the most recent. 3 years was worth the wait for the Scenic City to host this special day. Turnover at the blue line. Lockhart comes in, takes a shot. Votary, the save, rebound, scores. Lockhart sticks with it, and we'll see if that sparks the Petes to the point. Seed. Gaindon gets it. Face-off dot, pulls the trigger up into the chest. It was loose. Hookie got a whack at it. Puck still free. Flipped home, they score! Ethan Burrows scoops it in, and it's 6-3 Owen Sound. They lost 6-4 last night to the Guelph Storm, but they get one there. Avon in front, so don't go anywhere. As takes a shot, it was blocked. And Bryant and Barlow 2-on-1. Bryant for the empty net. Scores! So Gavin Bryant, what a day. What a day in Owen Sound.
That punctuated. Little technical difficulties in here in the studio. That punctuates the weekend with a great day, capitulated by a great attack win, 7-4 against the Peterborough Petes. One of the players that was on display that night, and he's on display basically every night at the Bay Shore, Colby Barlow. He goes in mid-season rankings for different places from 8 to 10. And he's going to be at the Coota Top Prospects game tomorrow night in Langley, BC. What do you have to say about your captain?
He's an incredible player. He really is. I mean, we were just talking. I mean, right from the get-go, we had him rated at 3. Shocked to get him at 8. He's come in right from day one. He's such a professional. It's like they say, if your best player is one of your hardest workers, you're in good shape. We're in good shape because he is. You know what? He works extra. He comes in. He's always there early. He leaves late. He loves being at the rink. His teammates love him. There was maybe some nervousness at the start of the year naming him captain, 17-year-old captain. And I think maybe I would have been one of the ones that was the most nervous about it because it's a lot, like when I played, they used to call it the hook, right? You put the hook on your jersey, it kind of weighs you down. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit afraid of that for him this year, being his draft year. But, I spoke to Colby, I spoke to his agent. They all sort of welcomed it. And, but then he started, I think he was 7 games before he scored. But then it just blew up, right? But I remember talking to him during those 7 games. He probably had more posts and crossbars than most guys would have all season after 7 games, right? And I said, you're talking about it's a half an inch this way or half an inch that way, and you probably have 7 or 8 goals already. So he just stayed with it, and I knew it was a matter of time. I think everybody did. He's too good, right? But you think you take out those 7 games, you think of where he's at with his goal production from then till now after 7 games. Pretty impressive. I mean, he's an impressive individual. So.
His shot's elite, and that stands out the most. But we were talking at the rink the other day. I said, if you were to go look at all of his goals, I bet you his shot being the best asset isn't even where he's scoring all his goals. It's right from in tight, and we saw it just this past weekend. It's all within 3 feet of the net because he's not scared to go to the dirty areas either, and that's one thing that scouts are raving about. Yeah, no, he's a competitor. Yeah. He competes, and you just made me think of something. Not only does he compete, and we talked about, in that top grouping of goal scorers and point producers, he's an 05. Pretty much everybody else is an 02 or an 03, and if you look to even the farthest right of that, he's plus 22. Yeah, I was looking at the score sheet or the top 10 in attack score, and the next is plus 10. Yeah, I'm like. So not only is he leading the team, and a lot of those guys, some of the guys that are in the top 5 are close to even, and that's, never mind. I mean, I'll talk about Colby. That's incredible, and he's an 05. So kudos to him. I mean, I know he's gonna do remarkably well at the prospects game. It's and you know what, I say that, even if things don't go as well as maybe everybody thinks, how's it gonna hurt him? It's not gonna hurt him. I mean, he's been so good. He's so accountable. He's so dialed in, and I think everybody knows that. The NHL scouts know it. He just keeps getting better and better and better, and rightfully so, because he puts the time in. I believe we don't have a winner to the trivia question yet. We'll throw it up again on screen. The last player to represent the Owen Sound Attack at the Top Prospects game. You can win a pair of tickets this Saturday, January 28th versus Sudbury. Without giving away the player's name, this player scored a goal and might have put him on the map even more. What do you remember about his performance in that Top Prospects game? Well, one or two. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really remember that, but I will say that he's under 5'10", and he loves to dance. You're not wrong. He loves to dance. Adrien Mouseeau and I had a very special opportunity to sit down with a World Junior gold medalist in Andy Brown. Let's take a look at the interview. Scribner and Adrien Mouseeau joined alongside Owen Sound Attack trainer Andy Brown, a gold medalist with Team Canada at the World Juniors. First off, on behalf of the city, congratulations. Thank you. Thanks. It was a great honor. It's been a wild ride. So first off, just the emotions once you got the phone call. You mentioned your work at the U17s, U18s. This was your first chance with the World Junior team. Just the emotions once you got that phone call.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting because you kind of waited for that for a long time. I'd been in the application process for several years and in the mix a couple of times, but and then COVID happened and the pandemic, and things just happened to just keep getting pushed back, and thankfully the opportunity was still there, and it was a pretty exciting moment. And my wife actually got it on video on her phone, so it was pretty cool.
Maybe just take the fans through your day-to-day routines, game day, non-game day with Team Canada.
Yeah, so I mean, my role with Team Canada is a lot more focused than here, in that I was just there as an athletic therapist. So like here in Owen Sound, I juggle being an equipment manager and athletic therapist at the same time. So with Team Canada, we had 2 athletic therapists and a strength and conditioning coach and 2 equipment managers. So your job gets a little bit more focused. So your day-to-day is actually pretty similar to a regular junior job. It's just there's more people involved to handle the players, and I spent a lot of time at the rink and a lot of time treating at the hotel, but it was just a little bit more focused on the therapy side of things than what I was used to.
Now, you talk about the therapy and all that. One of the big turning points in Canada's road to gold was the Colton Dock injury.
Right.
You were on hand for all of that without divulging anything, of course, medically. What was that experience? That was that's your time to shine.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, like, you never want to be in the spotlight for those kind of things, but Colton's injury, it became apparent pretty quickly that it was going to be tournament ending, and once the doctors had the diagnosis firmly in place, the management group went to work trying to get us a replacement that could fill his shoes, which wasn't easy because Docker was playing a huge role for us physically and emotionally. He was really an engine for our team, and so when he went down, they had the tough task of having to replace him, and Owen Beck came in and did a really good job.
You win a gold medal alongside former bench boss of the Owen Sound Attack, Alan Letang. What was that experience like for you, just being able to reconnect with a former bench boss here in Owen Sound? Yeah,
that was really special. And Alan and I had a great relationship when he was here, and we're still really close friends. And his family and my family are close. So, having his family in the building and my family there as well, it was real emotional. And yeah, we really had a great time, kind of a little mini reunion, and it was exciting. Yeah.
Now, Owen Sound Attack have one of the best junior players in the country on our team in Colby Barlow, but you were at the hands of a record performance by Connor Bedard, 23 points in the tournament. What was it like to see the phenom at work? Well,
he's the best for a reason. He's the hardest worker. He's in great shape. He comes to the rink every day, to get better, even at that level. Like he's that kind of personality. He doesn't waste any minutes at the rink. So, but he's a very focused player, and he's just a super personality too. He's very down to earth, very grounded. Very appreciative of everyone around him and his teammates. He really is a total package, and then you put in the skill that he has as well and what he can do on the ice, and he just makes everyone around him better. And it was a pleasure to be around him and a pleasure to get to know him, and to watch that performance, from the bench, was pretty special.
And I'm sure you've seen the interview by now that he had post game. So all that he said doesn't surprise you.
No, it's really genuine. It's who he is. He really believes that in his teammates and in the process of winning as a team. And he really didn't want to talk about his personal performance. And as much as there was a spotlight on him, it was about Team Canada. It was about all of us, top to bottom, and Bedsy never wanted to put himself ahead of anybody else, and that's just a genuine part of who he is.
Well, Andy, on behalf of Zach and I and the whole city of Owen Sound, congratulations on the gold medal, and hopefully there's more in the future for you.
Yeah, thanks very much. It was a pleasure to be out there representing the city. It was really an honor.
Andy Brown taking the time to discuss World Juniors. Before we ask this next question, we do have a trivia winner. Bill Millman knew that Aiden Dudas, the last player to represent the Owen Sound Attack at the Top Prospects game, was a fill-in player, I believe, an injury replacement, and like we mentioned, put up a goal or two. I want to get back to Andy and the World Juniors and mention Servac Petrovsky as well. Of course, Andy comes home with a gold medal. Servac Petrovsky played very well with Slovakia. For the two of them to have international experience at the U20 level, what does that do for the club this year and next year?
I always, and Brownie will attest to this, I try to make sure that as many of our players, staff, whoever wants to represent Canada at whatever stage, we provide them the opportunity to do so. I mean, I've done it. I think it's a great part of the program. And the more people that are involved, the better it is, because you go and you learn. There's little trinkets that you're going to be able to bring back and express to everybody else in the dressing room, and that's the wealth of learning. Do you know what I mean? To go and pass it on to somebody else, and Brownie will, and his expectations of just the guys now will be elevated, and in and around the room will be elevated. So it's just all plus.
Now you could have upwards of 3 to 4 players next year representing their respective countries. In my opinion,
I was just going to say, let's not put any pressure on anybody.
In my opinion, you have that. Well, I would almost guarantee Servek's going to be going back next year for Slovakia, which is Slovakia team is going to be very dangerous next year as well. Zach, next question. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to discuss U16. I know it's a passion of mine, and you do a great job scouting. So the OHL Cup's around the corner, being in March. Who are some of the top teams in the U16 level this season?
Well, Toronto Marlies are there. Junior Canadians are there. I'd say
London.
London is there. Obviously, with Rubric, who was looking to try to get in last year. Those would probably be the 3 of the top teams. Always fun to watch. Like, it's amazing when you go and watch some of these teams and you realize that these kids are only 15 years old, and it really is. And some of their size and some of their abilities. You know it's going to translate, right? And it's just the only problem is you only get, say, 1 pick in the first round, or you've got to hope that you've got 2, maybe 1 or 2 second-round picks, and you hope that obviously guys fall, and you have to have your order in decent shape to select the right guys. But it really is amazing watching these kids play and what they're capable of doing.
It's crazy. I ref at that level, and last year I saw Hunter McKenzie, who was playing for Halton at the time, and it's amazing how skilled these players are. And I'm like, he's that skilled, and he only went in the second round. And I ref Luca Testa as well, and they're so good. I'm like, I'm not even that good. Like, their shots are elite already. Yeah,
they are, and I don't know whether it's the technology or whatever, but these kids put a lot of time into it, and they really do. And you often talk to kids, and they know that if they're not doing it, somebody else is, so they better get back to doing it, right? So a lot of them do have that mentality, and you hope that they continue it on and carry it forward if they're playing in our league.
So when the OHL draft comes around and the Owen Sound Attack select Ben Cormier, Cedric Guindon, and Colby Barlow in the first round of the OHL draft, for the Owen Sound Attack, when do you recognize that this kid could go in the top 10 or assert himself as even a first-round pick? How do you guys evaluate that?
Well, the luxury we have is seeing an incredible amount of hockey games and individuals. I mean, I can tell you myself, I'll get to somewhere between 180 and maybe 220 games on a given year, but I've got guys on our staff that'll see over 400. So once you start formulating a list, like I can tell you, there's no sense us having a list of 300 kids, because at draft day, we'll be lucky to get through our top 100. You see what I mean? So we'll condense it, and then we talk about it and even argue about it at times. But that's how we do it. And the only thing that we do maybe a little bit different is we clump goalies together at a certain point, and we will deem them to go at a certain round. So if we said that, for Carter George, we've got a group of 3 or 4 goalies, and we're willing to select him in the 3rd round, or that group of goalies in the 3rd round. If one of those goalies is there in the 3rd round, he's coming to us. And if none of them are there, then we take a player, and then we go down and wait for because we believe that the next group of goalies would be more. It would be a better deal for us if we get them, say, in the 5th round. And if one of those goalies would be there in the 5th round, then we would select them. But as it turns out, sometimes we've got a small group of goalies, and one of them's usually there.
Now, you mentioned I was walking around the Bayshore just the other day, and I saw number 32, Carter George jersey, and I'm like, this guy's played 2 games for us, 3 games. He's 8-2-1 in St. Mary's. Is he developing faster than you think? At the same rhythm? You expect him to be on the team next year? I would assume, given he shows up to camp and performs the way he did when he had an intact jersey on.
Yeah, there's no question. We don't want that gentleman to be out whatever it was that he paid. I think he'll be able to wear it next year for sure. That Carter hopefully doesn't change his number on the guy. But no, look, Carter will be here. Absolutely, he will be. He's progressing. We'll probably see if we can bring him up. If there's time. I mean, I'm not going to take him away from St. Mary's, just to take him away. But if there's a need, and at the end of the year, how it plays out, we're not allowed. We can bring them up, but we can't keep them. They're still playing. Once they're finished playing their playoff run, I would suspect that he'll be back with us. But he's progressing the way that we had hoped, and I know he's excited about the possibilities of wearing our jersey again. Any
other previously drafted players that the fans should maybe go Google or look out for?
Well, I think there's we talked earlier, Dean Letourneau at St. Andrews, who came in and was here for 2 days and
blew my mind
and shocked everybody. So he's agreed that he's thinking about going to school, but we'll see. Kids' minds, they change from time to time. I'll see him this weekend and really get a chance to watch him and see if it's worth our while to go down that road.
We only have 2 minutes left on the show. We have to get you back again soon because we went through half our stuff and we're still going. I want to end the show, or at least we have to get it in, about Lorenzo Bonaiuto making the decision that he needs to prioritize his health. Health comes before playing hockey for the Owen Sound Attack.
Well, you know what? Without question, and I will give props to our ownership group. One of the things that I was afraid that was going to be trying to happen was that Lorenzo was going to try. And I know not everybody understands how this works, but I think Lorenzo was trying to come back to play one game so that he would get his final year of education. As I said to Lorenzo, that's just crazy. I said, let me go to the ownership group to see what they can do for you. Without hesitation, I was able to call Lorenzo back and say, hey, don't worry about this. You will get your final year of education.
Wow.
That's just too important. His health. I said, if you come back and try to play one game to get your education, and we see you laying out in the middle of the ice, then I don't know how we would live with ourselves. Do you know what I mean? For you to try to do that. So he's got his full school package. He can go on and do whatever he wants with a school package, and I hope that he keeps coming around. He's an incredible young man.
That's why you guys are the organization that you guys are.
Well, 100%. The ownership group is, like I said, the ownership group's amazing.
First-class organization. Thank you for taking the time. The moves were good at the deadline. You weren't sitting on your hands. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks for acknowledging that.
General Manager of the Owen Sound Attack, Dale DeGray. The Owen Sound Attack back in action Friday at the Sleeman Center before returning home Saturday versus the Sudbury Wolves. Thank you for watching another edition of Attack Wrap on Rogers TV.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer. Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
Tuesday on City TV.
I'm Detective Charlie Hudson.
Assume you have a warrant?
Yeah, right here.
The Bark is back to take a bite